Okay, I hope I'm audible to all students who are attending this lecture of Intermediate Microeconomics Part 2. We continue with our discussion of the assignment 1 for Pareto efficiency and market equilibrium. Okay, and all students can recall that in the previous lecture of this assignment, I had solved questions 1 and 2 for practice based on the concept of finding the contract curve. Okay, now in this particular lecture, we intend to start our discussion from question 3 onwards. Okay, so again, we are given the utility function of agent A and agent B. Okay, and if you closely look at the utility functions, you can see that for agent A, X1 is a neutral good. Remember, neutral goods are those goods which neither give you satisfaction nor they give you dissatisfaction. For agent B, you can see that X2 is a neutral good, and we need to find the contract curve, which is the locus of all Pareto efficient points, given the endowment 25, 25. Okay, so let's come to the whiteboard. Let's quickly solve this question. So we continue our discussion of assignment 1 of general equilibrium. Okay, and in this lecture we are solving from question 3 onwards. So we are given the utility function of A, which is x2a. Utility function of B is x1b, and we are also given the endowment vector omega 1 omega 2, which is 25 comma 25. Okay, so this is the information given to us. Let's quickly draw the Edgeworth box first. So if you can clearly see, the Edgeworth box in this case is going to be a square. Okay, so because the endowments are equal, so this is the origin of agent A, this is the origin of agent B. From A's origin, this is 25, this is 25, and from B's origin, this is 25, and this is also 25. How will A's ICs look like, guys? You can clearly see that for agent A, X1 is a neutral good. Let me come to the assignment just to check whether I have taken the correct utility functions. Okay, so yes, for agent A, it's X2A. For agent B, it is X1B. Okay, so let me come back to the whiteboard. Okay, so for agent A, X1 is a neutral good, and I can write that for agent B, X2 is a neutral good. Okay, so how will A's ICs look like? For agent A, X1 is a neutral good, so ICs are going to be parallel to the x-axis for agent A. So these are going to be A's in difference curves. And the direction of preference is north, strictly north direction. This is my direction of preference. Okay, and how will agent B's in difference curves look like? For agent B, I'm using red color, and agent B has X2, which is a neutral good. Okay, so agent, if you turn to your pages to B's origin, B's ICs are going to look like parallel to B's y-axis. Because for agent B, what matters actually is good X1 only, X2 is a neutral good. Okay, so now let us see where will the Pareto efficient points lie. So first of all, will the Pareto efficient points lie in the interior? No. Why? Because you can see clearly, if you look at if you observe the utility functions, you see that agent A gets utility only from good 2 and agent B gets utility only from good 1. So I can write that since agent A gets satisfaction only from consuming good 2, and agent B gets satisfaction only from consuming good 1, thus the Pareto efficient points cannot be in the interior, cannot lie in the interior of the Edgeworth box. And we can even take a point and we can show. Suppose I take a point in the interior. Consider a point in the interior of the Edgeworth box. Consider a point in the interior of the Edgeworth box. Suppose I say that A has, let's say 10, 15 hypothetically, and how much will B have? The total should be 25, 25. So B will have 15, 10. Utility which A gets from his own bundle is X2A, that means only good 2. Utility which B gets is only from good 1. Now let's try to make them better off. So now guys, think about this. B is not getting any utility from good 2. So B can give all units of good 2 to A. A is not getting any utility from good 1. So A can give all units of good 1 to B. Suppose we make this trade, A will have 0, 25 and B will have 25, 0. Utility which A will get now is 25. Utility which B will get now is 25. You can see if you compare, both A and B have become better off. Therefore, my initial allocation is not Pareto efficient because both have become better off by trading. That means by logic, I can say that all points inside the Edgeworth box are not Pareto efficient. Therefore, all points inside the Edgeworth box, all points inside the Edgeworth box are not Pareto efficient. Now let's look at the corners and let's see what happens when we are on the corner. So if I erase this particular part, now let's look at the corners. So suppose let's mark this as point C and let's mark this as point D. Okay. Now again, if you observe that agent A is getting utility only from good 2 only, and agent B is getting utility from good 1. So if you look at the extremes, so at OA, how much has A? A has 0, 0 and B has the remaining 25, 25. Utility which A gets is 0. Utility which B gets is 25. Now B can give all 25 units to A of good 2. So A will have 0, 25. B will have 25, 0. Utility which A gets is 25. Utility which B gets is 25. A has become better off without making B worse off. So therefore, my point OA is not Pareto efficient. On similar lines, guys, I can argue that even OB, which is B's origin, is also not Pareto efficient. If I erase this part, I can even argue this for B's origin. If I take a point on B's origin, so consider I can write at OB, A has 0, 0 and B, so sorry, let me correct myself. I can say that at OB, B has 0, 0. When you are on B's origin, B has 0, 0. A has complete 25, 25. Utility which A gets is only from good 2. Utility which B gets is only from good 1. A can give all 25 units to B. And if we make this trade, this is the bundle we have. Utility which A gets is still 25, but utility which B gets is now 25. You can see B has become better off than before. The utility which B was getting was 0 here. Please correct this. Utility which B was getting was 0 here. So B has become better off without making A worse off. Therefore, my allocation OB is not Pareto efficient. Then guys, the only thing I need to check are the bundles C and D. What happens when I am at C? What happens when I am at D? There is no need to check a point on this line, this line, this line, this line. There's no need to check any points because even if you check, you will find that they are not Pareto efficient. Because if you closely observe the utilities, A is not getting any utility from good one at all. So taking a point here is of no use. Similarly, B is not getting any utility from good 2. So taking a point here is also of no use. And similarly, there is no use of taking a point here, no use of taking a point here. So let's look at the corners now. The two corners left are C and D. So let's see what happens when we are at the point C. So if I erase this part, let us see what happens when we are at the point C. So at the point C, A has 25,0 and B has 0,25. At this point C, A has 25,0. If A has 25,0, automatically B has 0,25. Utility which A gets from its own bundle is 0. Utility which B gets is 0. Because A gets utility only from good 2, B gets utility only from good 1. Now, guys, let's make them trade. You can clearly see that it's a sure shot beneficial trade. A can give all units of x1 to B, B can give all units of x2 to A. If we make this trade, A will have 0,25 and B will have 25,0. Utility which A will now get is 25. Utility which B will now get is 25. If you compare both A and B have become better off than this. Therefore, I can say that point C is also not Pareto efficient. That leaves us only with 1 point, and yes, that point is Pareto efficient, which is point D. So let's see what happens when you are at point D. At point D, both A and B are getting the maximum utility they can. They cannot become better off by deviating from point D. So at point D, A has 0,25 and B has 25,0. Utility which A gets from its own bundle is 25. Utility which B gets from its own bundle is 25. You can see that at point D, both A and B are getting the maximum utility. You make them trade, they are going to become worse off than before. Okay. And you cannot make any one of them better off without making the other one worse off. So I can clearly see, therefore, point D is the only point of Pareto efficiency in this question. This is the final answer for this question. Point D, which is this point, is the only point of Pareto efficiency. So hoping all students have understood this. So contract curve in this case is nothing but a point, and that is nothing but point D, where A has the bundle 0,25 and B has the bundle 25,0. They would not want to deviate from this point because they are already getting maximum utility out of it. Okay, hoping all students have understood this. Let's come back to the assignment. Let us now look at question number 4. So utility of A is x1A minus x2A. Utility of B is x2B minus x1A. Okay, and the bundle which is given to us is the endowment vector is 20,15. If you closely observe the utility function, you can see that for agent A, x2 is a bad, for agent B, x1 is a bad. Okay, so let's quickly come to the whiteboard and solve this question. Let's look at question 4. Okay, so we are given that the utility of A is x1A minus x2A. Utility of agent B is x2B minus x1B. And the endowment vector is given to us as 20,15. Let's quickly cross check from the assignment. Okay, 20,15, x1A minus x2A, x2B. This is B, guys. This is B. Okay, so x2B minus x1B. Please correct this. Okay, so let's now look at this question. So you can clearly see for agent A, x1 is a good, but x2 is a bad. And similarly for agent B, you can see that x2 is a good, but x1 is a bad. Okay. Another thing which all students can observe is if you look at the MRS of both the indifference curve, it's exactly equal to +1. Okay. So for utility of agent A, which is x1A minus x2A, if I calculate the MRS, it's minus mu1 by mu2. This is minus mu1 is 1 upon mu2 is -1. So this minus and this minus make it +1. Similarly, for agent B, it's x2B minus x1B. If I calculate MRS of B, it is minus mu1 by mu2, which is minus mu1 is -1 upon mu2, which is partial derivative with respect to x2, which is +1. Two minuses make it again +1. So this implies ICs of both the agents A and B are upward sloping, because the slope, which is the MRS, is positive, upward sloping. And straight lines. Why are they straight lines? Because the MRS is not only positive, it's also a constant, +1. If the slope is constant, you have a straight line. Okay, so if we quickly draw the Edgeworth box, so we can quickly look at the Edgeworth box for this particular case. This is origin of A, this is origin of B. It's a rectangle, guys. Let me draw it again. It should look like a rectangle. Okay. So this is origin of A, this is origin of B. From A's origin, this is 20 and this is 15. And from B's origin, if you turn your pages, this is 15 and this is 20. Okay, let's quickly plot A's and A's ICs. A's ICs are all 45-degree lines. Okay, so if you look at it, so how will I draw a 45-degree line, guys? This is 20, so this is 10. This is 10, the midpoint. So A's ICs are going to look like this. They're going to be upward sloping. All other lines are going to be parallel. Okay. So these are all parallel lines. These are all A's ICs. This is origin. Okay. Let me make a small correction. This should be, if I am drawing a 45-degree line, it should have a slope of 1. So please let me make a small correction here. That this is 15, guys. Okay, this is 15 and this is 0 from A's origin, and this is 20. So that means that if you look at the point, a point here should look like this is 15. So we should have a point 15, 15. The point 15, 15 is going to lie on the 45-degree line. So this is 15 will come somewhere here. Okay, so from A's origin, this will be 15. From B's origin, this is going to be 5. From B's origin, this is 5. From A's origin, this is 15. And this, my height is also 15. My length is also 15. So if I join this point with this point, this is going to be a 45-degree line. Because for this 45-degree line, the height is also 15 and the width here is also 15. The length is also 15. So this will be my 45-degree line. And then I can draw all other lines parallel to this line. All other lines I can draw as simply parallel to this line. So these are all family of A's indifference curves. And how will B's indifference curves look like? you will see that B's and difference curves are going to overlap with the A's and difference curves because both have the same slope. Since both have the same slope exactly, A and B have the same slope, so their ICs are going to overlap each other. From B's origin, you can clearly see that from B's origin, for B, X2 is a good and X1 is a bad. So from B's origin, upward sloping ICs, straight lines, and since the slopes are equal, the B's ICs are going to coincide with A's ICs. When you turn your pages, you will observe that B's ICs are also upward sloping, straight lines. So I can write that A and B's ICs overlap. A's and B's ICs overlap each other. Since both agents have upward sloping ICs, since both the agents have upward sloping ICs from their respective origins, both the agents have upward sloping ICs from their respective origins, and the slope of both the agents ICs, the slope of both the agents ICs are equal to +1. So they are going to overlap each other. Now, guys, let's look for the Pareto efficiency point. Can it be in the interior? You can again see that A is getting utility only from good 1 and B is getting utility only from good 2. The other parts are giving them disutility. So obviously you cannot have the interior point as a point of Pareto efficiency, and you can even cross check it. So if I erase this part, let us look for the Pareto efficient points within the Edgeworth box. Okay, so consider a point in the interior. Consider a point in the interior of Edgeworth box. Okay, so suppose A has, let's say 10, 10. It lies in the interior of the Edgeworth box somewhere, and I have hypothetically taken it. And then how much B has? The total must be 20, 15. So B has 10, 5. Okay, what is the utility A gets from its own bundle? 10 minus 10, which is 0. What is the utility B gets from its own bundle? 5 minus 10, which is minus 5. X2 minus X1, 5 minus 10. Now, to make A better off, A needs more units of X1. So suppose B gives all 10 units here. And suppose B to make B better off, B needs more of X2. Suppose A gives all units here. So if I make this straight, A will have 20, 0, and B will have the bundle 0, 15. What is the utility A will get? 20 minus 0. What is the utility B will get? 15 minus 0. You can see that both A and B have become better off than before. Therefore, any point in the interior of Edgeworth box is not Pareto efficient. Any point in the interior of the Edgeworth box is not Pareto efficient. Okay, so now let's look for corners. So again, guys, by similar logic, no point here will be Pareto efficient on, suppose I call this as C, suppose I call this as point D. No point on OAC is Pareto efficient. Or let's check if it's Pareto efficient. Suppose I take a point on OAC. Okay. Let's take a point on OAC. So consider a point on A's x-axis. Suppose I take a point on A's x-axis, let's say 15, 0 only. And let's take a point on, so how much will B have? If A has 15, 0 and the total is 20, 15, B will have 5, 15. Utility which A gets from its own bundle is 15 minus 0. utility which B gets from its own bundle is 15 minus 5, which is 10. We can try to make A better off, because you can clearly see for B, x1 is a bad. So suppose B gives all units of x1 to A. Then A will have 20, 0, B will have 0, 15. Utility which A gets will be 20 minus 0, which is 20. Utility which B gets will be 15 minus 0, which is 15. You can see that A has also become better off, B has also become better off. Therefore, any point on A's x-axis is not Pareto efficient. By similar logic, guys, you can see if I take a point here, suppose I take a point here on COB. Okay, so you will see that even that is not Pareto efficient. So let's take a point and we can quickly check. Let's take a point on, first of all, let's take a point here. Let's take a point here on A's y-axis. Suppose I take a point on A's y-axis. Let's check whether that is Pareto efficient or not. Okay, so consider a point on A's y-axis. So how much A has on the y-axis? 0, 10. Then how much is left, guys? Total has to be 20, 15. So we are left with 20 here and 5 here. Utility which A gets is 0 minus 10, which is minus 10. Utility which B gets is 5 minus 10, which is minus 15. Let's try to make one of them better off. A needs more of x1 and B needs more of x2. If B gives all units here and A gives all units here, this becomes 20, 0 and B has 0, 15. Okay, so utility which A gets is how much, guys? 20 minus 0. Utility which B gets is how much? 15 minus 0. Compare both, you can see that both A and B have become better off. Therefore, no point on A's y-axis is Pareto efficient. So we don't have any Pareto efficient point here also. Okay. Similarly, let's take a point on B's x-axis. Let's take a point on B's x-axis. So consider a point on B's x-axis. So suppose B has 15, 0. How much does A have? 5, 15, because the sum should be 20, 15. Utility which A gets from its own bundle is 5 minus 15, which is minus 10. Utility which B gets is 0 minus 15, which is minus 15. Again, B can give all units of x2 because B can give all units of x1 to A because x1 is a bad for B. A can give all units of x2 to B because x2 is a bad for A. So again, what do you observe? If this trade happens, A has 20, 0 and B has 0, 15. Again, you can see that both A and B have become better off than before. Utilities have gone up. So I can say, therefore, any point on B's x-axis is not Pareto efficient. And I can write similarly, you can cross check at home. Similarly, any point on B's y-axis is also not Pareto efficient. This point, any point on B's y-axis will also not be Pareto. That means we are only left with corners. And out of the 4 corners, which corner is giving the maximum utility to both A and B? All what A cares about is x1, all what B cares about is x2. That means point C. At point C, A has complete x1 and B has complete x2. So you will see that point C is the only point of Pareto efficiency. So I can quickly write this. If I erase this part off, if you look at the points now, you will observe, you can verify that OA is not Pareto efficient. OB is not Pareto efficient. Point D is also not Pareto efficient. By the same working, consider point C. Consider point C. At point C, how much does A have? A has 20, 0. How much B has? The sum has to be 20 comma 15. So B has 0 comma 15. Utility which A gets is 20 minus 0. Utility which B gets is 15 minus 0. Both A and B are already getting maximum utilities. Both A and B are getting maximum utility possible. Therefore, none of them would want to deviate. None of them would want to deviate from point C. Therefore, C is the only point of Pareto efficiency. Point C is the only point of Pareto efficiency. So the answer for this question is only point C lying on A's x-axis is Pareto efficient. So hoping all students have understood this particular question. And then let's quickly come to the assignment. Let's look at question 5. Okay, so again, question 5, utility which A gets from utility A gets is x1A, utility which B gets is x1B. You can see again, guys, for both A and B, x2 is a neutral good. They are only getting utility from x1. And the endowments are 20 comma 20. We need to find the contract. This one is a very simple question. If I come to the whiteboard, let's solve question number 5. So what are we given? We are given that utility of A is x1A, and we are given that the utility of B is x1B. And the endowments which we are given are 25 comma 25. Let's check the endowment once. Let me come to the, it's 20 comma 20. Okay, it's 20 comma 20. So let me make this correction. The endowments are 20 comma 20. Okay, so clearly for both the agents A and B, for both the agents A and B, x2 is a neutral good. It neither gives them satisfaction nor it gives them dissatisfaction. Okay, so if we draw the Edgeworth box, let's see how is it going to look like. Let's draw the Edgeworth box for both A and B. Okay, so it's going to be a square. The Edgeworth box is going to be a square because the endowment of good A, good 1 and good 2 are exactly equal. Okay, so it's going to be 20 from A's origin, 20 from B's origin, from A's origin, and if you look at it from B's origin, again it's going to be 20 and 20. How will the ICs look like? For agent A, x2 is a neutral good. Neutral good means agent A's ICs are parallel to the y-axis. It doesn't matter how much good 2 is there. All what matters is good 1. And the direction of preference is going to be east direction. Okay. And likewise, I can draw the ICs for agent B. You can see the ICs are going to overlap because for agent B also, x2 is a neutral good. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much x2 is there. So ICs of both the agents are going to overlap. So I can write, therefore, ICs of both the agents A and B overlap. And you can see that both of them are getting satisfaction only from good 1. So guys, if both of them are getting satisfaction from good 1, you take any point in the Edgeworth box, it's going to be Pareto efficient because no one would want to deviate from that point. So take any interior point. So I can say consider any interior point. Consider any interior point. Suppose in the interior, I say that suppose A has 10 comma 5, let's say, and B has the remaining 10 comma 15. Then utility which A gets is only from good 1. Utility which B gets is only from good 1. Okay. there is no trade which can make one of the parties better off without making the other party worse off. Okay, so understand this. You can clearly see that you try to make B, you try to make A better off, A needs more units from B for X1. That would make B worse off. To make B better off, she needs more units of X1. If A gives that, A becomes worse off. So I can write, therefore, all the interior points are Pareto efficient. Similarly, guys, you can check the corners. Take any point on A's x-axis. So on A's x-axis, A has hypothetically say 10, 0, B has 10, 20. Again, utility which A gets is only from good one, utility which B gets is only from good one. Again, any kind of trade you make, one party is going to become better off by making the other agent worse off. So Pareto efficient. So I can say all points on A's x-axis are Pareto efficient. Take a point on A's y-axis. On A's y-axis, A has hypothetically says 0, 10. Then B is going to have 10, 10. Again, utility which A gets is only from good one. Utility which B gets is again only from good one. You cannot make B better off, but you can definitely try to make A better off. Guys, this is 20, 10. Please correct this. This is 20, 10. Because the total should be 20, 20. So B is getting already the highest utility of 20. If you try to make A better off, A needs more units here. If B gives that, B becomes worse off. So Pareto efficient. So I can say all points on A's y-axis are also Pareto efficient. Okay, then let's take a point on B's x-axis. On B's x-axis, suppose B has 10, 0. A will have 10, 20. Again, A is getting a utility of 10, B is getting a utility of 10. You try to make one of the agent better off, the other agent becomes worse off. So this is Pareto efficient, and by generalization, all points on B's x-axis are Pareto efficient. And similarly, on B's y-axis, if I take a point, suppose B has 0, 10, how much will A have? 20, 10. Utility which A gets is how much? 20. Utility which B gets is 0. Again, you can't make A better off because A is anyways getting the maximum utility. If you try to make B better off, A needs to give some units of X1 to B, but that would make A worse off. So again, Pareto efficient. All points on B's y-axis are also Pareto efficient. You can check the corners. OA is Pareto efficient. Point C Pareto efficient. OB Pareto efficient. Point D is also Pareto efficient. So my answer is what? Entire Edgeworth box is Pareto efficient. We have shown that the interior points are Pareto efficient, the corner points are Pareto efficient. Therefore, the entire Edgeworth box is Pareto efficient. So my contract curve is the entire Edgeworth box in this case. Okay, so hoping students have understood this. Let's come back to the assignment. And let's look at the last few questions of the assignment. So question 6. Okay, so let's look at question 6. So we are given the utility function of A, which is x1a plus x2a, perfect substitute type. Utility function of B is given to us as min of x1b, x2b, perfect complement type. And the endowments are given to us as 20, 20. We need to find the contract curve. So if I quickly come to the whiteboard to solve question 6, utility of A is x1a plus x2a. Utility of B is min of x1b, x2b. This is perfect substitutes. References, these are perfect complement references. We are also given the endowment vector, which is 20, 20. So my Edgeworth box is a square. Okay, so I can draw the Edgeworth box. This is origin of A, this is origin of B. From A's origin 20, from B's origin also this is 20. A's ICs are downward sloping ICs with MRS equal to -1. So MRS of A will be equal to -1, perfect substitutes. Okay. That means A's IC is going to pass through point C and point D, and all the other family of ICs are going to be parallel to this IC. All other ICs are going to be parallel to this particular IC. So these are all A's family of indifference curves. The direction of preference is again the northeast direction. Okay. And if you look at the B's ICs from B's origin, B's ICs are perfect complements. And the kink is going to come at x1b equal to x2b. So I can write B's ICs are perfect complements with the kinks at x1b equal to x2b. Now guys, x1b equal to x2b will lie on a 45-degree line from B's origin. From B's origin, if I draw a 45-degree line, this is 45 degrees. So all the kinks are going to lie on the 45-degree line. And how, if you turn your pages to B's origin, these ICs are going to be L-shaped like this, where the kink is going to come on the 45-degree line. The kink is going to come on the 45-degree line. So these are all kinks of B's indifference curves, and they all lie on the 45-degree line from B's origin. Okay. Now guys, where will the Pareto efficient points lie? So first of all, we can check the kinks, then we can check the region. So I can divide my answer into the 45-degree line. Let me check on the 45-degree line, and then let me check on the two regions. So consider a point on B's kinks, that is the 45-degree line. If I take any random point, guys, suppose I take 10, 10. How much will A have? A will also have 10, 10. What is the utility A gets? 10 plus 10, which is 20. What is the utility B gets? Min of 10, 10, which is 10. Now to make A better off, A needs either 1 unit here or 1 unit here. If B gives that, B becomes worse. So I can write, suppose B gives 1 unit of x1 to A. Then how much will A have? 11, 10. But how much will B have? 9, 10. Utility which A gets will be 21, but utility which B gets will be 9. A has become better off by making B worse. So this is Pareto efficient. Similarly, how will B become better off? To make B better off, B needs 1 unit here also and here also, because it has a min function. If A gives 1 unit of both the goods to B, A will become worse off. So suppose A gives 1 unit here also, 1 unit here also. So A will have 9, 9, and B is going to have 11, 11. Utility which A gets is 9 plus 9. Utility which B gets is 11. B has become better off by making A worse off. So I can say that this point is Pareto efficient. So I can say, therefore, all points on the 45-degree line are Pareto efficient. All points on the 45-degree line are Pareto efficient. Okay. Now, guys, I'm erasing the ICs for simplicity. And now let me check the other regions. So we have figured out that all the points on this 45-degree line are Pareto efficient points. These are all my Pareto efficient points. Now let me call this as region 1. Let me call this as region 2. And let me take a point in the interior of this region. So consider a point in region 1. So guys, region 1 means if you turn your pages to B's origin, suppose this is the point, say 1, 1 for B, then a point here would be 2, 1. A point here will be 2, 1 from B's origin. So if B has 2, 1, how much will A have? 18. comma 19, because the sum has to be 20 comma 20. Utility which A gets is 18 plus 19, which is how much? It is 37. Okay. And utility which B gets is min of 2 comma 1, which is 1. Now let's try to make one of them better off. Suppose B gives 1 unit of x1 to A. A has 19 comma 19. B has 1 comma 1. Utility which A gets now is 38. Utility which B gets now is 1. A has become better off without making B worse. Therefore, I can write all points in region 1, all points in the interior of region 1 are not Pareto efficient. All the points in the interior of region 1 are not Pareto efficient. Similarly, guys, we can take a point in the interior of region 2. Okay. So let's take a point in the interior of region 2. So I erase this particular part off. Let us take a point in the interior of region. Consider a point in the interior of region. So a point, so this is 1 comma 1 from B's origin. If I take a point here, then from B's origin it would mean 1 comma 2. How much A has? 19 comma 18, because both should sum up to 20 comma 20. Utility which A gets from its own bundle is 19 plus 18, which is 37. Utility which B gets is min of 1 comma 2, which is 1. Suppose B gives 1 unit of x2 to A. How much will A have? 19 comma 19. How much will B have? 1 comma 1. Utility which A gets is now 38. Utility which B gets is 1. A has become better off without making B worse off. Therefore, all points in the interior of region 2 are not Pareto efficient. Okay. So now we have shown that region 2 interior points are not Pareto efficient. Region 1 interior points are not Pareto efficient. You can now work out the corners also. Guys, remember, anyhow, always remember, when you have a min function, there is no point of looking at the corner. Because when the agent is having a min function, the goods have to be consumed in a given ratio. So when you are on the corner, the ratio gets disturbed. And anyways, when you are on the corner, one of the good is equal to 0. So that simply means that corners are never going to be the optimum solutions here. So what is the answer here? The only answer is that your 45-degree line, which you can see on your screens, only that line is the line of Pareto efficiency. So I can say that the 45-degree line is the contract curve. And this is the final answer for this question. The 45-degree line, which is the brown line which you can see on your screen, this line is the contract curve. You take any point in region 1, not Pareto efficient, region 2, not Pareto efficient. Even if you take a point on the corners, that is also not Pareto efficient. So, but remember, OA and OB both are Pareto efficient. And the line joining them is also Pareto efficient. You can show that on your own. You can show that OA is Pareto efficient. You can show that OB is also Pareto efficient. And all the points on the line joining OA and OB are also Pareto efficient. Okay. So hoping all students have understood this. So this is where I intend to stop in this particular lecture. We have done question 6 part A. Question 6 has further parts, I think. Let's come to the assignment. So question 6, we have done part A for discussion. Okay. Part B and C, I will be discussing in the next lecture. We will be discussing this in the next lecture of general equilibrium assignment solutions. Okay. So I hope all students have enjoyed this lecture. Any doubt, you can unmute your mic and ask or call up. or you can mail me your doubts at divineschoolofelconomics@gmail.com. So in the next lecture, we'll look at parts B and C, and in the next lecture, we'll also start with numericals on market trade or valuation equivalent. Okay, so this is where I stop in this lecture.